Hey, welcome everybody to this webinar. It looks like a lot of people are getting logged in, so stay tuned. We're going to get started here in about 30, well, let's say 20 seconds. Yeah, I see the numbers funneling in. All right. Well, guys, let's go ahead and get started with some quick introductions. For those of you getting logged in here, welcome to this PayTrace and CC Sales Pro co-hosted webinar. I'll be your host today. My name is Sam Johnson. I'm one of the sales trainers here at PayTrace. And on this call here with me is my boss, our national sales manager here at PayTrace, Eric Jenks.
And good morning or afternoon, folks on the East Coast.
Yeah. And also the guest of the hour, CC Sales Pro CEO and YouTube sensation, James Shepard. Welcome, James.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Awesome. Well, I know we have a lot of people that haven't been on these webinars before, so I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping items and some agenda setting before we start diving into the content here. This is what we call PayTrace Power 30. We do these every now and then where we just kind of have a conversation with some folks within PayTrace and out in the industry to give you some insights on how you can be successful with some of our tools that we have available for you. You will notice as you're logged in, you are muted, but that doesn't mean that we want to limit engagement with you. So as we're going through today's call, feel free to send in any questions, comments, emotional outbursts. You should see a little Q&A box at the bottom of your screen if you wiggle it around a little bit. We will be fielding some questions towards the end of today's call, so I'm just going to call it out. The earlier you get those in, the more likely those are going to get answered, but we will be doing some follow-up after the fact if we don't answer it live today. Now, what can you expect from today's call? Well, PayTrace and ISO AMP/CC Sales Pro is teaming up with some really cool new solutions for you to help make navigating merchant statements easy. So I want to introduce you, James. Would you mind just, for some of the PayTrace folks that have been on here that might not be familiar with you, could you just kind of give us a just quick intro into who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I found this industry by accident about 12 years ago, as I think a lot of us did. Responded to a recruiting ad and started selling merchant services out in the field, door to door, and built a local ISO up. Had about 500 or so merchants locally. Then I realized, wow, that was really hard. I had to do a lot of research and there wasn't any information online to help me. So I thought maybe there's some other people that are searching for this information online as well. And that's when I started CC Sales Pro. That was about 10 years ago. We had our YouTube channel, ccsalespro.com. And so we've just been putting free information out there to help people out for a long time. And now our YouTube channel has, I think we're coming up on 2 million views on YouTube and some good stats on our website and things like that. Throughout the course of time, I had my own ISO for a while. We were doing about 200 deals a month with that. Sold that ISO about 5 years ago. And so for the last 5 years, I've been focused exclusively on trying to create the company that was the leader for merchant sales training and technology. And so a lot of people know me for the training content that I put out in the industry. Less people know me as the owner of ISO AMP, but we're working on that. But that's our technology side. And so my passion really is just helping people sell more merchant accounts. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
So I'm going to be honest, and James, I don't think I've even mentioned this to you since we've started partnering together, but I'm not going to say I steal your content, but I definitely watch a lot of your videos. I definitely watch a lot of your videos because you have some really awesome insights from a sales perspective on how to be successful in this industry. So I appreciate that. It's really cool to be able to be joining up with you on a presentation like this.
Absolutely.
And then I also do want to introduce Eric. A lot of you folks on this call probably have no idea what the heck PayTrace is. So Eric, do you want to just do a quick little introduction of what PayTrace is and who we are?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sam. We are a payment gateway. So many of you are familiar with that concept, but maybe by some of our competitors, some of our favorite competitors are MMI and Auth.net, folks like that. Our unique niche, though, is interchange optimization, which is a large reason why we're here today, and helping merchants avoid some of those unnecessary downgrades. And that seems to make the most sense in the B2B space. So business to business to government have some unique requirements. And, our CEO wants to make merchants happy. And we realize, man, there's ways that we can leverage technology to make merchants happy. And as a trickle down effect, it helps sales reps be happy. And it's a win-win-win. So Payment Gateway.
Awesome. Payment Gateway. So Eric, you mentioned something that I think is going to be very important as we go through this conversation, but it's this idea of interchange optimization. So I want to get the juices flowing with our audience, make sure you guys aren't falling asleep. So we're going to launch a quick poll. How many of you guys are familiar with interchange optimization and have clients that are currently leveraging that for their interchange? Let's go ahead and pull this up. We'll leave this going for about, let's say, 10 seconds. Then I'm really going to know who's paying attention. That's the real reason why we use these polling tools, right?
Yeah, it's fun to watch the numbers. It's like a race right now.
It is. It's like, oh, who's going to win?
I'm really surprised.
All right.
A lot of people are using it. Look at that. Wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
Fantastic. Well, let's do 5, 4, 3, and shutting it down. So it looks like about 62% of us, here I'll actually share the results, 62% of us are currently leveraging interchange optimization. And some of you guys we're hopefully going to show the light to here throughout this call. So very excited about that, team. So James, you did mention that you've launched this new solution called ISO AMP. I'm really excited about this. It's going to hopefully make selling and navigating these merchant statements very easy. Would you mind kind of telling us what that's all about and maybe even showing us a demo of what you've got going on?
Yeah, sure thing. So let me say while I share my screen here. So interestingly, we've actually had this technology now for about 5 years, but not the interchange optimization side, but just ISO AMP in general. And the really interesting thing is we started out and we just had one solution. A lot of people have heard the name Instant Quote Tool. And what we've done now is we've really separated that. So we still have instantquotetool.com, which is just a free solution for individual users that want basically a prospecting tool to just kind of grab the merchant's attention real quick. But we realized very quickly that most of the technology and the advanced stuff, we really wanted to make more of a full feature solution that covered all the bases: statement analysis, proposal generation, managing Schedule A's and pricing templates, user management, all of the reporting, all of that stuff. And so that's what we've repackaged into ISO AMP. So again, the technology's been around for a while, but we've really repositioned it and added a lot of new functionality. And of course, now this partnership with PayTrace and this interchange optimization, I really think just kind of takes it, over the line to just really be the leader in this area. And so really excited about it. So, as Sam mentioned, obviously we're going to spend the bulk of our time on interchange optimization and this new feature. However, I'd really like to take about 10 minutes, if I could, and just kind of demo what it means to create a quote inside of ISO AMP, because ultimately, no matter how much work we do with the interchange optimization, we want to display that to the merchant in terms of savings. So how do we do that? Well, that's why it's really important that we built this feature on top of the existing technology we have. So that way, once you're done with all the optimization, well, you can show that to the merchant with a custom proposal. So I've got something up here on the screen, our slide. And Sam, can you just confirm, is it good? You guys can see my screen?
I'm seeing ISO AMP. We get merchant sales agents and teams from hello to yes.
Awesome. Look at that. Stealing my thunder, but that's okay. So good. So we came up with this statement and I was a little worried, this sounds a little gimmicky. And it's really not. This is more of a mission statement than anything else. And the reason I put this up on this slide is I want to make it clear right from the outset that the technology I'm about to show you is extremely focused. We don't do anything before hello, and we don't do anything after yes. So if you have a CRM, great. We're not trying to replace your CRM. We would love to integrate with it, but we don't have a CRM. We don't have a full feature CRM. We have things organized so that it integrates well, but we don't have a CRM. If you have an online application tool or a customer support ticketing system or residual calculation, great. We don't do any of that. because that's after the merchant says yes. So what we do is we help merchant sales agents and teams get merchants from hello to yes. We handle all of that beautifully, but we don't do anything else. But we have APIs and Zapier integrations and all these cool things so we can integrate with both sides as you kind of go out from, before hello and after yes. So we've got our website there. Other thing I want to mention real quickly here is, obviously today I do not have nearly enough time to cover all of the information that I want to cover about our tool. If you go to getisoamp.com, we have a team ready to do free demos for you, live demos. We have a feature list, all that good stuff there. So let's dive in. So the first screen that you would see if you're inside of our tool and you wanted to create a new quote or proposal is you would click on quote and you would choose the industry. So we have this little drop down. If you expand all of these categories, there's about 26 business types here. And the reason we have these is two things. Number one, it's a great way to organize your prospects and proposals. Sometimes it's nice to know, I want to see the proposals I've done for quick service restaurants or for auto repair. But the other reason is, again, we don't just do statement analysis. We also help with that initial, introduction. And so as many of you know, if you're out in the field, you're talking to a small business owner that, maybe is only doing $10,000, $15,000 a month in volume. Many times getting the statement is like an unnecessary initial step. That's where you might lose that prospect. So you really want to just grab their attention. So our tool, we do a lot of calculations behind the scenes to estimate things like residuals, to estimate things like interchange, to estimate things like American Express out blue costs. So you can, by choosing a business type here, you can enter some very basic information and you can create what we call a quick estimate, meaning it's not exact, but it's a way for you to look at it and go, okay, I could probably save this merchant some money, and here's how much I could probably make on the account. So you kind of get those rough estimate numbers, and that's also going to be helpful to grab the merchant's attention to say, hey, I just ran this through my little tool here, and let me just show you, it looks like we could save you potentially over $1,000 a year. I'd love to take a look at a statement to make this exact. So a lot of times we can use this to grab attention, which then allows us to get that statement rather than right off the bat trying to get the statement and potentially losing the sale. Again, especially on those smaller accounts. So we have two different modes here. We have simple mode where you just enter some basic information, total volume, average ticket, total fees. However, once you have a statement, then we would go over to our advanced mode. So in advanced mode, we call it advanced, but it really is still very simple. Basically, this is the card type summary report from any statement that you would see. What we found is even a brand new agent, if they go through just a little bit of training, they can usually identify the information necessary for this form. This is an easy one. So all we're going to put in here is we're just going to put some volume and transaction numbers in for the different card types. And then we're going to put in the total fees. We're going to put in the number of daily batches. So this is just the merchant activity that we can use. And the more data you give our tool, well, the more accurate our estimates are going to be for obvious reasons. So we're going to go to click on create. Once we click on create, we now have the ability to choose what we call a program. So in our system, the word program is really synonymous with a pricing template. I'm not going to get into all the details today, but programs also include Schedule A information and margin control and all kinds of other things, features and benefits. So I'm not going to get into all that, but for the purposes of this demo, let's just consider it a pricing template. So I wanted to show this screen because we do support 4 different kinds of pricing models in our system today. We have cash discount, all the various types and forms of cash discount. We support surcharging, compliant surcharging, where we have to identify, well, we can only charge on, credit cards. We can't charge the service fee on signature debit or pen debit or prepaid. And so we exclude those. So we have compliant surcharging. We have flat rate, which would be, maybe a competitor to Square or Stripe, something like that. And then of course, we also have the standard Interchange Plus if we scroll down a little bit there. So I'm going to use Interchange Plus to start out just to kind of illustrate, because I think everybody here is very familiar with that pricing structure. Now you'll notice that with this program, we've enabled something called quick edit fields, and we can do this with any program and any fee, but it's the idea of being able to just really quickly make an edit to the pricing and then see the impact of that on the savings, the residuals, and the fees. So if you look at this, what we're going to do is we're going to change the 8-cent per item fee to 5 cents. And you can see that when I tab over, it instantly changed the savings number and the residuals. So it increased the savings, it decreased the residuals because of that little change. So again, this is just a great way to kind of very quickly, we're still very close to hello at this point. You know, we're not nearing yes, we're at hello. So maybe we got a statement, we want to kind of generally get an idea where we're at. And then we're going to say, okay, yeah, I think that's about right. I'm going to save him $80 a month. I'm going to make about 50. This is where I want to be on this account. And so then we're going to click choose. So once we do that, we're now in the agent view of a proposal. And so now we can actually go in here and do a lot of different things. So if we look up at the top in the summary, we provide some really helpful information, the proposed fees and the effective rate. So we are proposing this merchant $633 a month, which is a 2.8% effective rate. Their existing fees, $721, which is a 3.2% effective rate, roughly. We also show the savings. Now, I also want you to notice here that we do show the residuals. So again, there is some setup that goes into this. When you as an individual merchant sales professional or an ISO, when you come to us, we enter your full Schedule A into the system. And so we generally know what your residuals are going to look like. And so we can estimate all of that right off the bat, which again is very helpful when you're trying to manage pricing. You want to know how much you're going to save, but you also want to make sure you're leaving some meat on the bone in terms of margin. So the other thing to notice here is interchange, and you'll notice that it says estimated there, okay? So our tool, what we did is we took the data that we have so far, which is the individual car type information, the volume and transactions, and the business type, which also means we also have that average ticket because we have the number of transactions and all that. So we took that basic information, we went out to our 7,000 statement records, we looked at the similar business types with similar average tickets and all of the complicated stuff behind the scenes. And our algorithm came back and said, we built an interchange table that totals $344.43 for this merchant. Now, again, is it going to be exact? No, it's not. It's an estimate, but it's a pretty good thing to be able to do on a smaller merchant account just to get that estimated information. So I'm going to scroll down the page a little bit to the merchant activity, and we can see it right here. I'm going to click on it here and click on edit. So very similar to the advanced form, but one of the things we can do is, of course, we can now change any of these numbers. So here's where we're starting to move a little further in the process. So we've grabbed their attention. We've got a statement. Well, we now want to make this proposal really exact. So we probably don't want an estimated interchange. We probably want to add up our interchange and we want to put it in there. So maybe the actual interchange when we added it up was $412.35, and I just kind of put some random numbers in here. So then we can put information like that in, we can then update it, and then that's going to instantly update our proposed fees, our savings, all of this information, okay? If we scroll a little further down the page, we're going to get to our fees section, and I'm going to click on edit. So this is a really familiar view, I think, for most industry professionals. Kind of looks like a spreadsheet, which we're used to. We have our proposed fees on the left. We have the current fees from the statement on the right. So a couple things to notice here. You'll notice a little red section there at the top that says itemized total $536.05 and the current monthly fees of $721. What does that mean? Well, our goal at this point is if we really want to get this to be a side-by-side comparison, not just a savings, but we really want to show where the savings is coming from, well, we need to make sure that we key everything in from the statement. So we're showing that our current monthly fees for the merchant is $721, but we've only itemized $536. So what that tells us is, hey, we're still missing a couple $100 worth of fees. And you can clearly see that if you look at the top, we actually haven't entered anything from the statement yet. So our system recognizes that, interchange is the same. So we have that. We have our debit network fees, our Amex Blue, and all these other pass-through costs like dues and assessments, but we haven't entered basis points of markup or transaction fees or monthly fees or any of that. So how do we do that? Well, I'll show you one example. I want to move pretty quick here. So I'm just going to show you one example. That top fee, VMD volume, I'm going to click on edit there. And you can see the information here, including the margin control. You can see that we have a minimum and a maximum for this particular program for this agent. So I can't change this to 10 basis points. It won't let me. So maybe the ISO had something set up that said if you want to go below 35, they have to do over 30,000 in volume or something like that. But these are controls that we have in place. So I change it to 35. I also enter the current amount at the very bottom there. So maybe they're currently paying 45 basis points on the statement. I save that, and now I have a line item there. And again, now I'm itemizing the fee. So I'll just go ahead and, do the rest of them here, and, we'll have a little screenshot that shows what it looks like once that's done. So now I have all the fees entered, but I'm still missing one fee, and that is they have an on-file fee, okay? So they have this monthly on-file fee of $9.95, and I don't have an on-file fee. So where do I put that? Because that's not part of my current program. I don't have a side-by-side for that. It's really simple. Up at the top, I'm just gonna click on New. So we can add any kind of fee that we want. You can see a drop down here, and I mean literally anything you could imagine: an Amex Op Blue, or an Amex per item fee, a fee that only is on signature debit, a fee that's only on whatever, like anything you want, monthly fee, annual fee, quarterly fee, anything that's on a statement, you can enter it right here very easily. So we're going to select a monthly fee. The current amount is $9.95. Our proposed amount is 0 because we don't have this fee. So we'll save it. Now our red box is gone because our itemized fees add up to our total. So we know we entered everything from the statement. We're good. So that's great. Now we know, okay, cool. We now have a penny for penny analysis here, right? So now we go back to the proposal and we look at it and think, okay, I got everything entered and they got a pretty good deal. I'm only going to save them 20 bucks a month. So I could cut into my margins, or I could, what am I going to do? Well, one thing you could do, of course, is interchange optimization, which we're going to get to in the next part. But another option is maybe you say we have a surcharge program. So we're going to click on change program at the top here. And we're actually going to go ahead and just choose a surcharge program instead. So by choosing that, we're now showing $542 in monthly savings, So we can change that, and that's the beauty of it. We can then choose a different program, but we didn't lose anything. We still have all of our fees from the current statement. What happened is, if you go down to the fee section, it just changed all of our fees. So everything they have stayed the same, but now we have a surcharge program where we've got a 3.99% service fee on credit. We have 1.5% on debit. We have 2% on PIN debit. This is a surcharge program, compliant surcharge program. So just that easily, we can flip back and forth between these different options: cash discount, flat rate, surcharge, interchange plus. And now we're able to offer some serious savings. We could also scroll a little further down the page and see that our approximate residuals on this account, even with surcharge, and we're saving them all this money, but we're only making like 40 bucks. It's like, well, if I'm going to save a merchant 500, I think I'd like to make a little more than 40 bucks. So how do we do that? How do we increase our margin? Well, in this case, we didn't include a per item fee on debit. We had a flat 1.5%. And again, I'm not going to dive into all the details of surcharging here, but we can go up and click on our program features. And it turns out that this program has a special feature flag for an additional fee where we can have a per item fee on signature debit. So we update it. Now all of a sudden, we're saving them a good amount of money. We've got $82 in residual. We're feeling pretty good about ourselves. So last step, and we're done. We now just need to present this to the merchant. How do we do that? Well, we're now going to change our template. So when we click on change template, these are our custom proposals that we create for each of our ISO clients. And I whipped one up today. Most of our clients have 50 of these, or at least 20, because they have different technology solutions they want to present, whether it's the PayTrace gateway they want to present, or, a Clover system, or Talic, or Point, or Mint, or whatever. We have all these custom proposals in a library, and we can set them up for you with your ISO, depending on what solutions you offer. In this case, I made one real quick just for today's demo for Clover. So we're going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we have a surcharge app for Clover, and that's what we want to present to the merchant as a Clover solution. So once we select that, we now can click on our PDF, and we can also email this to the merchant as well as in a web view, but we're going to just show you the PDF for today. So we now have a beautiful PDF document. It's got the Clover station here, another page that shows some different information on Clover. And then we have a beautifully formatted proposal, which again, I apologize for the color clashes here. This is just an example, but obviously we'd have your logo there and it'd all be color formatted. We have the name of the merchant. We have the name and email address of the agent. And again, these are completely customizable. We've done anything you can imagine for different companies that want to present different things. We have all the fees here listed for them. And then maybe even beyond that, we have a few extra pages, giving more information about Clover. So that's in a nutshell how to run a quote. Now, again, we didn't cover any of the admin tools. We didn't cover any of the user management. We didn't cover the marketing campaigns or any of that, because that's not the purpose today. The purpose today is to talk about interchange optimization, but hopefully that will give you a little bit of a foundation. Then from there, again, go to getisoamp.com, schedule a demo with our team. We'll do the full thing and show you how all of it works together. So I'll throw it back over to you, Sam.
Awesome. Thanks, James. So just want to call out, guys, this tool is pretty dang slick, right? James, I love the fact at how flexible and customizable these are, because as we know, statements, proposals, there's no real just straight up cookie cutter way to format those and to read them. And this tool is really allowing a lot of flexibility for people to really make it their own and to really have that proposal ready to go. That's going to help them close that deal.
Thanks, Sam.
So, I've been getting a lot of monitoring the Q&A box, and we're getting a lot of interest in this interchange optimization stuff, right? We've been talking about it a lot, but really, what is that? So, Eric, I'm going to throw you under the bus here, and we got a question here from a James F. that I think is a great lead-in into what PayTrace does and what is interchange optimization. So, James F. says that some of his competitors claim with their special software that they can run an algorithm that lowers cards that normally hit in the high twos down into the very low twos or the high ones. Is this just a line of nonsense? I love it. Straight shooter. Is this just a line of nonsense, or is there some truth there? Eric, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, James is asking a really great question. So James, a good observation. Always worth to ask questions like, how does this work? And I would just simply say the rules for interchange, while complex, they're not impossible to understand. You're going to have to do some homework on that. But there's no one that can just like wave a magic wand. I bought a Harry Potter wand. It's behind me right now because I had some reps that are like, Eric, just wave your wand and make it turn into a level 3 sale, right? Save me some money. It doesn't work like that, right? So the rules are the rules. They're the same for everyone, Visa, MasterCard, or the other card associations creating, those, the field in which we play. And if you play by the rules, then sometimes you can save some money, right? And so some of those you're probably really familiar with, right? And we mentioned I had a podcast with James, and I'd encourage you to go dig back at that podcast earlier. But at a very basic level, I think all of us have had some experience on interchange optimization. I remember doing retail, and as you move into those phone orders, you start begging merchants, please put in address verification, right? Put in the zip code. Sometimes you need to do the street and the zip code, and now it's starting to get kind of complicated. Like, when does this apply? And is it a retail in person, or is it a key enter, right? There's all these details. But the reason why we're doing that is we're trying to help our merchant avoid some of those downgrades, right? Sometimes we see that as standard, right? Sometimes we see that as IRF. Now we see that going to be renamed non-qualified, but that's interchange optimization, right? And the reality is, do they have special software with a special algorithm? It'd be really cool if they did, but you'd have to find out, like, do they really? How does that work? I would say, in some ways, some people consider PayTrace has a little magic box that makes these things go away. And in a sense, it is true, but at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're just leveraging technology to implement best practices, right? We're putting that payment consultant, we're putting you in a little box called the internet and making sure that they're available in every transaction, right? And so we're helping them avoid unnecessary expense. So if they have that type of technology, then great, that's what you're looking for. If not, then you're going to hear some stories on why that could be problematic for your clients, and really even problematic for your portfolio, quite frankly.
So I want to add to that, Eric, right? I hear all the time from agents out there that, when they're kind of talking about statements and things like that, that interchange is a fixed cost. And there's truth to that, right? Interchange is always going to be present, right? But there is flexibility within that, right? Different cards can qualify for different rates. We see that all the time. We hear things called downgrades. Well, how can we get upgrades, right? As a way of saying that. And PayTrace, that's where really PayTrace comes in, is we have a gateway solution that's going to optimize or lower the interchange, right? We're going to get the best qualification for all of these credit cards every time. And what I'm going to lead into here with James in a moment is that on these different, there's some different cards, especially you'll see in the B2B sector, right? A lot of these commercial cards, even government cards, can benefit from this process called level 3 processing, which is essentially, to the question we had earlier from James, right? It can take those cards that are qualifying at those high twos, right? 2.9, even 3%, and they can actually get down to 2% or lower, right? So there's some real value in there. And that's where leveraging a solution like PayTrace can really come in and create some value for those merchants, right? So there's the cost side. The really cool side about how PayTrace is unique with this as opposed to a lot of the other gateways is that we're doing this really more or less automatically, right? We're really simplifying this process so that merchants are able to leverage this very easily. So I want to ask you guys, I've got another poll, right? I said I'd keep you guys on your toes today, but I want to know, first, right, how many of you guys are using proposal tools like ISO AMP? But more importantly, do they have this thing called interchange optimization built into it? So let's leave this up here on the screen for a few seconds and see what kind of response we get.
By the way, Sam, I thought I'd chime in while they're doing this, and definitely stick around, because in about 10 minutes or so, I'm actually going to show you an exact map of what was just asked. It's literally going to show this transaction at 2.7 dropping to 2.05 or whatever. And so you're going to see optimization actually happening in real time. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. It looks like at least half of us don't have a tool like that. Some of us are using proposal tools, but right, it doesn't have this layer of interchange optimization to it. I do want to add, guys, after this demo that James is going to send, we actually have kind of I don't know what I'd call it, a prize, a really cool resource for you. But Eric and James actually co-authored an ebook that we're going to be providing you a link to that you can access that for free. So stick around, team. James, do you want to introduce kind of your new layer to ISO AMP and how does PayTrace affect this?
Sure, I would love to. So
James, I'll just tell you right now, there are a ton of questions in the chat. So, for the folks that are asking in the chat, I'm just going to click answered live because this is what you've been waiting for. So
yeah, here we go. This is interchange optimization. So a couple things I would say to kind of frame this, and then we're going to jump in. Interchange optimization has always been a huge part of, well, not always, it's been a huge part of my personal strategy as a merchant sales professional. Ever since I was in the industry for about a year, I figured out that, in order to make sales, I had to save people money. And, it's always funny to me because I do a lot of consulting. And so I talk to all the CEOs of the big processing companies, and, you don't need to save a merchant money anymore. You just need to sell them a cool technology, and they'll say yes. I haven't really found too many salespeople that agree. Generally speaking, especially with larger merchants, they're very aware of the cost of processing and they want to save money. Okay. So in order to close deals, I realized there's only two ways I could do this. I could either cut my residuals and lose my margin by lowering the pricing, or I could find a way to cut the interchange cost, which didn't cost me anything. I'm like, okay, let's see, which of these do I want to do? Well, I want to do interchange optimization. However, it was so complicated and so time consuming, it was unbelievable. Like, to do something like I'm about to show you right now, if I would have had this tool when I was selling full time, forget about it. It would have been amazing. But, I didn't, and I would spend 4, 5, 6 hours going over a statement, a big statement, trying to do this interchange, optimization. So I'm really excited about this PayTrace partnership because PayTrace really had kind of the magic, sauce that I needed. And they have that magic wand. Eric really does have a magic wand back there. He's, he really does. So he's about to get it and show it to us right here. Look at that. So Eric was kind enough to share a little bit of the magic wand with us, and leveraging our technology, and we were able to put something cool together. So let me just jump in and stop delaying here, and let's show you what we got. So we were very fortunate that about a week ago, one of the participants actually that's on the webinar right now, Stephen, he agreed to allow me to share this. He sent me a statement and said, James, I have a statement. I think there could be some interchange optimization, but it's like, what tool could I possibly use to figure this out? And I said, well, you're in luck. You know, we have this exact tool that was in beta. So I said, hey, I tell you what, you know, I'll do a free analysis for you if you'll allow us to use some of this data. So he was gracious enough to allow us to do this. So as you can see, this is just I'm going to show you kind of the finished product first, and then we're going to show you how we created it. So this is the merchant activity for the statement from our tool. As you can see, very large merchant doing about $3 million a month in Visa, MasterCard Discover volume. I also wanted to use this statement because I wanted to emphasize the fact that this tool opens up doors to huge accounts that otherwise many of you would never sell. You know, this ability to do the optimization, that itself will give you access to things that you normally wouldn't be able to have access to and accounts you couldn't get. So let's show you what this looks like. So this particular merchant, without lowering the margin at all, which the margin is huge, I'll show you in a second, we were able to find $13,000 a month in interchange optimization for this merchant through PayTrace. So this merchant's going to start processing with PayTrace, and this merchant is going to pay $13,000 a month less than they were paying before. And the rep is not going to cut the margin at all. In fact, if he so chose, he could increase the margin if he wanted to, and he could still get the account, okay, and still have that account. So how do we get that? Well, let's create a quote. So again, I'm going to run through this part in like 2 seconds because I already showed you how to do it. This was a card not present. It was a large ticket Moto account. So large ticket Moto is these, you know, larger ones that are taking phone orders and things like that. And that's what this was. We went to the advanced mode. We already had the statement. So we put the information in from the statement and clicked on create. Then we went down and chose the Interchange Plus option here. So here we are at our proposal. And I went ahead and updated the exact interchange amount from the statement and a few other things to give you some information here. So you'll notice that I'm currently offering the merchant 0% savings, but my residuals are really, really high. Okay, the margins are really high in this. Now, again, this is as far as most of you could currently go if you don't have a tool like this, because it's like, well, I can't just randomly lower the interchange, like the interchange is the interchange. So I can't do anything with that. So what am I going to do here? Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut into those residuals because, you know, we're like, well, it'd be great to make $4,000 a month on this account, but we don't have to. We could probably make, you know, less. So let's just go cut the pricing and try to get the account that way. And maybe we can save the merchant $2,000 or $3,000 a month, which for a merchant this big may or may not grab their attention. And so that's all we could do, you know. If we go down and we look at the merchant activity, here's kind of the details. They actually did some Amex. We didn't use that in the original because we don't optimize that, but I put all the information in here. We go down to the residuals. We can see the margin again. I didn't fully update the Amex, so it's a little inflated. But if you look at just that bottom line there, the VMD volume alone is showing $5,800 in margin. So this is an extremely profitable account. Okay, the current pricing is like 22 basis points and 11 cents. So very profitable, large account, okay? So let me go back 1 second. So what do we do with this? What we're gonna do is, instead of going up to the fees section and scrolling up there and lowering our margin, instead we're gonna click on the interchange analysis there. We're gonna click on show. And that's gonna bring up this screen right here, okay? So there are 4 steps to interchange optimization in our system. Very simple, okay? The first one, and by far the most time consuming of the 4 steps, is item entry. So you have to get the interchange table from the statement into our system. So we looked at a lot of different technologies. I'm excited. I think 12 to 24 months from now, I really believe the technology will be there and working correctly that we can scan a statement or something like that and bring it in automatically. But you know, right now you still have to key it in. Good news is, again, this used to take me hours. This took me on this humongous, like this is like the biggest statement you would ever work on. It took me about a half hour to do this whole thing, the whole process, including the interchange optimization. So it's very reasonable. What you have to do is you can have a spreadsheet view here. You can reorder the columns if you want. So you can drag and drop the columns around to reorder them to match the statement. You never have to touch your mouse. You can just use tab and enter. And you know, basically we went through here and entered some categories in. So I didn't enter all of them because there's hundreds. I just entered, let's see, what do you got? 5 categories from Visa that are primed for optimization. I'll point out here too, on this statement, it actually did not show the volume rate and the transaction rate for Interchange. It didn't show the percentage in per item, but our system doesn't need that. You can either put the volume rate and the transaction amount in there, or you can just put the total fees in there for Interchange for that category. Either way is fine. Our system will work with it no matter how the statement is structured. So I then entered a couple more for MasterCard, and then I scroll back up to the top here, and I'm going to click on match type. So step one, get the interchange table into our system. And again, it's a time-consuming process. These are for large accounts. You're going to invest a good solid 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so on the average statement to enter the entire interchange table. You literally are just going to type out exactly what's on that interchange table. So in this case, the top one was VS Business Standard T1. The next one was VS EIRF Credit. We just type it out exactly as it is on the statement. Now, this second step, I'm really excited about the progress we've made here, even in the last few weeks as we've gotten ready for rollout. So this next step is you put a bunch of text in the system, in our system, and said, VS Business Standard T1. Well, as I think all of you know, all the processors have different ways that they name these things, you know? So TSYS versus Elevon versus First Data versus, you know, whatever else. They're going to have a different text here. They call interchange different things, right? So what our goal is to get it to where no matter what you enter in that first step, our system is able to instantly and automatically match what you enter to the real interchange table. We're getting very close on that. We have Elevon done, we have TSYS just about completed, and we have several others in the pipeline. But what we're going to do is, when you go in, you'll see the first category there. I didn't even have to match anything. It was automatically matched. So our system said, hey, we already know that if somebody enters VS Business Standard T1, and if it ends up being 2.95% and 20 cents, if that calculates out correctly, then we know what that is. On our interchange table, that's called VCOM Standard Business Tier 1. You know, like we already have that mapping done, all right? It's already matched. Now, in some cases, especially the first month, if you're starting our tool from using it right away, we may not have all the matching done, and that's fine. We make it super easy to match. So look at the second one as a good example. On the statement, it says VS EIRF Credit. Well, we know it's Visa, so it's in the Visa category here. So which interchange category is it? Well, you don't have to look through the whole table to find the right one. Our system says, well, we only found 3 categories that match exactly to the penny with this amount based on the calculation. So this is either EIRF, or it's Signature Card Electronic, or it's VCOM CP Business Tier 2. Well, I don't think it's going to take any of us very long to match this up. Obviously, it's EIRF. We can tell from the name. So we match it. Once you do that, that's going to trigger a little ticket to our support team that says, hey, Susan had to match an interchange category. We never want her to have to do that again. So let's look at what she did and validate it, and then we'll save that result so that anytime anybody else types VS EIRF Credit and it has this amount of fees, we know what it is already. All right. So the next step is matching. I went through and matched these up and got to the point where all of them were matching up. You know, Eric, let me do something. If you don't mind unmuting your line for a second, would you mind pointing out a couple of these and actually walking through a little bit of like what is it that makes these map from one to the other?
Now into the secret sauce, right? And in the answer of a lot of questions here. So, what we did here is, really kind of leverage the experience that we've had, that I've had personally in doing these statements for a really long time, and then working with PayTrace, and then James's experience as well. And just basically looked through the analytics that we have from all the processors that say, look, if you have a transaction, and let's look at the very top one, IRF, for example, and I think someone was asking about this question earlier, and what are the data elements that are needed to go to IRF, right? And so in those, you may be familiar, if the transaction doesn't settle within 48 hours, for example, right, then it's going to move from card not present, which is cheaper, to this IRF category, right? And that, in our mind, that is a non-optimized transaction, right? We don't want the merchant to pay more, and there is a means for the merchant to avoid that cost, right? They just need to settle within 24 hours. And so essentially we start applying that logic to every single category, right? For example, we mentioned earlier, ABS. I saw a question earlier, like what is level 1, 2, and 3? But a simplification, Visa issues different cards, MasterCard issues different cards. They have different data requirements. And if you meet those data requirements, you give the card brands the data they're looking for, then you can achieve lower costs, right? It's a game of trading. They want that data. It helps them be more efficient, and they're willing to pay you for it, right? They're willing to give the merchant a discount for supplying that. And so in these scenarios, we do that. So in this scenario with the very top one, IRF, it's 2.3%. We would say that's a downgraded transaction, and it really should probably, in this scenario, go to a card not present rate. Well, what is that? Well, we just mapped it to that and said, hey, in an ideal situation, they shouldn't be paying IRF at 2.3%. And I can't remember what
we'll show, I'll pull it up in the next 2 slides or whatever.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And so all of these basically, replicate down through, I mean, how many did you give me, James? I mean, it's like 600 line items that we looked at to say, is there an opportunity for the merchant to pay a lower cost if they, followed some best practice?
Right. So I basically sent Eric a spreadsheet. Well, my lead developer sent him a spreadsheet with 600 line items and said, Eric, could you please optimize all 600 of these for us? So, all right. So now we have them all matched. Okay. So now what do we do? Well, now we're going to click on optimization. And this is really where the fun stuff happens. And this is the part that used to take me hours and hours to get it wrong. I still didn't get it right. But, I would have to key everything into a spreadsheet. Then I have to go, okay, I think that one could be lower. How could it be lower? Well, let me figure it out. And this is ridiculous. Just, crazy amount of time to get these big deals. Well, there's 2 ways you can apply optimization in our system. So now we have a complete interchange table. Well, what you could do is our system actually allows you to manually do that, just like I used to have to do. I mean, you can literally go through here, click on these and say, I think this one should be this other category. And I think this percentage of it should be this. And you can literally go through and manually optimize. But why would you do that when Paytrace has already done all the heavy lifting? So instead, we could just click on Apply Automatic Optimization Powered by Paytrace. Okay, by clicking that one button, what's going to happen is our system is going to run through the entire interchange table. It's then going to look at this map, this kind of secret sauce that was provided to us by Paytrace and say, oh, wait a second, this interchange category, we can optimize that and it should become this one. And those transactions would be coming in at a lower rate if we follow best practices through something like the Paytrace gateway. And so as you can see, just in those 5 categories or 7 categories, I think it was, we were able to see about $12,000 in possible optimization. Now, if we scroll down here, we can actually see each of those. So Eric, I'll let you make another comment there if you want. Now that we can kind of see some of the other mappings, maybe you could even point out one of the B2B ones that kind of maps over. And any thoughts on that?
Yeah, a couple things that stand out here. So obviously right at the top, Visa commercial standard. I'll just tell you, anytime that you're looking at a statement and you see standard, I think you should be thinking James Shepard quote tool optimization, right? And so in this scenario, we're seeing one of the biggest spreads here, commercial standard 295, really should be coming in at, and I use should lightly, air quotes around that for those listening on the phone. The opportunity to move that to level 2 on the Visa side is 2.05. That's a 90-point spread, right? $800 worth of savings in this scenario. You'll note that we didn't move that to level 3 because, quite frankly, in the Visa world, those cards don't guarantee to go to level 3, right? We are very confident they will go to level 2 with our product, but they won't go to level 3. And you can see down the list, IRF, I think that should go to card not present. Corporate card on the Visa side, that should go to level 2. The purchasing card not present on the Visa side, that one we think should go to level 3. And down the list it goes, right? And it's doing the math. There's a couple things why we feel that there's confidence within our system. We make it fairly difficult. The end user has to manually intervene in order to get to stop this optimization, right? There's no, again, some folks I think are probably thinking, wow, this sounds a lot like a magic wand, right? You're just making these things go away. We're basically at this point predicting the best case scenario, right? If the merchant and the end user followed all the rules all the time, and I think this is going to lead into the next feature that I love with James's product.
Yeah, so this is assuming, the original one here, let me go back. We were assuming that we were going to capture 95% of that. So let me take 30 seconds and kind of break this down as to how this works. And Eric can correct me if I miss anything here, but basically with optimization, it kind of either works or it doesn't for a particular card type based on the data that you're getting. And so with something like a pay trace, it's going to prompt and even require the cashier or whoever's entering the transaction data. It's really going to require them to enter the correct data, or it's going to already have the correct data, like the merchant's zip code and things like that that are required, and it's going to automatically submit that. So it's going to make sure that this data gets through. But at the same time, we don't want to show 100% confidence. So the beauty of this is we have a little slider. So you can see it over to the right here, an optimization factor, we call it. And you can just slide this down. So it's not going to change the actual optimization, like line by line information below it. It's just saying, look, the total maximum savings, if you look at the top there, the maximum savings for this merchant with these types is $12,000 a month. We want to show 75% of that on our proposal. So we're going to show 9,000. So it's nice to have that kind of confidence factor, that optimization factor, so that if you're not 100%, sure about it, it's always good to give yourself a little leeway with the merchant to make sure you kind of under promise and overperform rather than the other way around, right? So now we're at a point where we have all the information here with the optimization. And so now we're ready for the last step, which is, really a pretty simple step. I'm going to put it back up to 95% here, and we're going to go to our final step. And in this final step, what it does is it's going to show you. Now, this is, again, this is kind of a little bit of skewed information at the bottom, simply because we only entered 7 of the 160 interchange categories. But the idea here is it's going to itemize and show you exactly what the new interchange is from the actual interchange table. So you entered it all, you might as well get it exact. It's going to show you the interchange optimization savings. It will also show you interchange markup. So what'll happen is a lot of times you'll get a statement, you'll start keying in the interchange table, and our system will say, nope, that's actually not the rate for that category. So, that's not right. And that happens. I did one 2 or 3 days ago in the system right away. I was like, boom, nope, that's not right. So it identifies that markup automatically. There's not even an extra step for that. That's there's nothing for you to do. Obviously, if it's higher than it's supposed to be, it's markup. It's interchange. We know what the rates are. It's not like a secret. So our system automatically identifies that. So you have all of this built into it. And now all you do is you click apply. And once you do, and you go back to the proposal here, you'll see that we added a interchange optimization line item on the proposal for $11,415. I'll also point out that one feature I didn't show you because we didn't have it when I did these screenshots, but we also finished up our CSV export as well. So if you get all done with it and you're like, okay, I want to show the merchant exactly line by line to justify the savings, click export, you've got an Excel spreadsheet, and you can show that to them. Okay, so now this merchant, we were able to save them all this money. We did not cut the prices. We did not hurt our margins at all. We just optimized their interchange. So again, a lot of stuff that we didn't cover there. That was definitely the high level view. I know Sam is about to give you some information on our ebook. Definitely check that out. That'll give more info. And again, our team, getisoamp.com, we can do full demos and really break this down and show you how it really works. So Sam, turn it back over to you.
So just, James, I want to put a bow on this because, that thing was really cool. Essentially what we can do now is we can take one of these very complex merchant statements, leverage this technology, and by leveraging PayTrace's interchange optimization, we can easily identify some really great opportunity for merchants that may be overpaying. And again, we're not having to tap into our own value, our own margins.
For sure. And it's, I'll tell you what, too, I think agents really underestimate this as we talk about this in the ebook. Even a merchant that's doing $50,000 a month, a lot of times those sales are made by the agent saving that merchant $100 a month. And that's coming out of their margin. You could save that merchant a lot of times $100, $200, maybe $300 a month on the interchange optimization, which is not going to cost you a penny. So, you can really make the merchant happier doing it this way. And of course, you make yourself happier because, you keep all your margin.
Yeah, I love that. And James highlighted this in the book. I see questions swirling. I can see the wheels are turning. I can see the wheels are turning. And I just want to call out a couple things on the interchange optimization. So many people, when they start in this interchange, the world, there's a sense of integrity that they feel to be able to say, I wanted to give an apples to apples comparison. you were paying X with this company, and if you come to me, you'll pay Y, right? And so they create this apples to apples comparison. But James in his book highlights that this new reality that that Sam just pointed out, that interchange is not fixed. And so in this interchange optimization world, we are giving them an apples to oranges comparison. And the reason why we're doing that is that based on your expertise, right? Based on you as the consultant, you feel like there's opportunity for them to improve, right? And so you are making recommendations for changes for them. And now you're coming in as that consultant and saying, look, you're leaving money on the table. And in some scenarios, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. You may need to make some changes. Is it worth doing that for 13 grand? Right? And that's the question now the merchant and you get to have that conversation about. You may be surprised and they may say, no, for 13 grand, I'm not going to move, right? I have $1 million ERP system and I'm stuck, right? In other situations, they're going to be like, holy moly, are you freaking kidding me? I had no idea that I was leaving that much money on the table. I would encourage you, if you go to our website, paytrace.com, you can go down to the bottom. There's a white paper that MasterCard did on our product about a B2B gateway, featured one of our merchants, $1 million a year in interchange optimization, right? And so these are the stories that we love to tell. You don't see $1 million a year in interchange optimization very often, but I almost guarantee that there's some money to be had, right? And so in some scenarios, you're just looking like, hey, what's the cost of the transition, right? I need to justify $100 investment into this system that's really going to make them happy. It's going to save them time. It's going to make their life easier, but I need to be able to justify that fiscally. I'm telling you, a lot of times that can be found in interchange optimization. It doesn't have to be with PayTrace, right? I mean, you can coach someone. I mean, and I did it. Hey, look, you know that Zon Jr. that's on your desk? You can enter AVS into it and optimize that IRF charge. You can. You just got to do it every single time, right? So I'm just going to say right now, it doesn't have to be with PayTrace. This is a consulting tool that can make you better. We believe that PayTrace automates that and makes it really easy, and merchants are looking for that convenience. But interchange optimization can be a big deal. So anyhow, Sam, back to you, ebook.
Cool. Ebook. We are coming up on the top of the hour, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We'll take a few questions here, but right now I'm sending out a message in our chat box, and hopefully you all can see it, but it's a link to an ebook, again, that James Shepard and Eric Jenks co-authored. It's this, the URL is getisoamp.com/optimize. So again, the URL for that is getisoamp.com/optimize. And James, if you want to stop sharing, I can actually pull that page up here on my screen.
For sure. Let's see here. There we go.
Perfect. So guys, this is what it looks like, right? It's called Interchange Optimization Made Easy. Serious savings, serious margin. Covers a lot of the topics that we talked about here today. Should help make this interchange optimization conversation a little bit easier for you, and does a great job demonstrating some of the value for yourself and your merchants that you can get from this. So team, check that out. Again, it's a free ebook. There's a really lot of good best practices in there that's worth checking out.
All right, some shotgun questions. Does that work, Sam?
Couple shotgun. Yeah, if you have one ready to go, Eric, let's hear it.
James, Richard asked, does the tool accommodate more than one Schedule A?
It accommodates as many as you want, unlimited.
Big deal, folks. You work with multiple partners, you can have one source to solve that problem. So, Richard, great question.
I've got one here, Eric.
Good.
So, I really like this one. It's from Chris, and Chris is asking, will it be available soon? It's the wave of the future. James?
Jump on the wave right now. Go to getisoamp.com and sign up, and you can have it by tomorrow.
Yeah, this is it. It's launched. We're ready to go.
Yeah. I think you answered this question during your presentation, but James, can this be combined with cash discount to lower the cost and increase our spread so things don't downgrade?
Well, interestingly, no, it won't decrease the cost. It will only increase your margin. In other words, with cash discounting, you're not passing through interchange to the merchant, but it is being taken, in other words, as we collected 3.99%, let's say, right? So we collected $400 on 10 grand. but we have to pay the interchange, and then we get our margin. So if you're able to lower the interchange, then of course it's going to dramatically increase your residuals.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing point. That's a whole nother video offline, just because
Sure.
it's amazing. Hey,
Sure.
Sam, question for you. This interchange optimization only works on the virtual terminal?
No, no way. It works on everything. Yeah, for those of you that may not have used PayTrace before, right, we've got a really clean VT. That's really kind of our flagship product is our virtual terminal. But, right, we're seeing a lot of new ways that merchants need to accept credit cards. So we do have some card-present solutions, swipers, EMV readers. This also works with integrations, right? So for those of you that use have merchants using accounting platforms, e-commerce, mobile applications, all sorts of things, right?
How about
Interchange
countertop
optimization works.
terminals? Seen a couple questions on countertop terminals.
Countertop. Well, it depends on the definition of countertop. We do support a couple. I would call it a countertop terminal, right? IPP 320 from Ingenico, as well as we've got a new solution coming out here, an ID Tech Augusta device.
It does need to be connected to a tablet or a PC. So I would say if you think it's standalone, then the answer is no. But if it can be connected to a smart device, then probably yes.
And I would point out too that I think most of the interchange optimization like opportunities really aren't, if a merchant's so small that they have a standalone terminal in their physical location, I mean, there may be some opportunity there, but the big opportunities are going to be more e-commerce, virtual terminal, POS integration type merchants. Because again, the larger the merchant, the more this is going to matter.
Yep. Hey, James, a lot of questions here. And of course, this is the money question. Debbie's asking this. Lisa's asking this. So how much does it cost?
Oh, great question. So if you go to getisoamp.com and click on pricing, we have all the details. But to give you the high level, it's this feature along with 3 users, meaning you would have this feature in the entire tool. Everything I showed you is $195 a month. We're waiving the setup fee for right now. So we will do all the branding for free. We'll set up your proposal stuff for free. So you just pay $195 a month for 3 users. If you get, most of our clients obviously have more than 3 users. So when you get into that, it's $29 a month per user and then $195 a month for this feature. So, depending on the size of your ISO, if you've got, 10 users, it might cost you $400 a month, something like that. But again, that's not just this feature. That's this feature along with everything else. So again, go to getisoamp.com, click on pricing, and you can see all the details there.
Ton of people mentioned that, so I apologize if I didn't bring up your name. But there you have it. It's right on the website. It's no hidden secret here.
No, and we even put our bulk pricing on there as well. So if you've got we have a lot of ISOs that have 200-300 reps. Obviously, we have a lower price than $29 per month per user. So you can see all that on the website.
Hey, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're a little bit over the hour here. So do you mind if we wrap this up?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure, do it.
Yeah, we're running the show. So guys, I know there's a lot of unanswered questions on here. We have all of this data here, so we're going to get back to you. We may even produce another follow-up video with some of the FAQ that we've been hearing on here to make sure that your questions are answered. So stay tuned for that. Again, thank you, James, for hopping in on this call.
Thank you.
If you guys are interested in partnering up with GetIsoAmp and or PayTrace, you can get a hold of James and his team at sales@getisoamp.com. And if you want to get a hold of PayTrace, sales@paytrace.com. And we're more than happy to talk about some different partnership opportunities and how you can have access to these great solutions. So thank you again, team, and have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, James.